Hello, everybody. Good afternoon for those of you that are in afternoon time zones. Good morning or good evening to anybody else in the rest of the world. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. For those of you that do not recognize me, my name is Tina Myers. I am a Partner Solutions Architect here at AWS. Today, my co host is going to be Tiffany Chen, also a Partner Solutions Architect. Say hello, Tiffany.
Yeah, hi everyone.
I'm super excited for the episode today. We have a partner today, SmartBots.ai, that is here to show us how their SmartBots studio works to help you build custom bots that use generative AI through Amazon Bedrock. Tiffany, do you know what Howdy Partner is for those
Yeah,
in our audience that don't know?
yeah. So, if for any new audience members, Howdy Partner is a channel where we bring in different partners and they can talk about, their company and the products that they have, the cool solutions that they've built out, things that you all can work on together, and basically show you different demos and answer your questions to help you learn about them and hear all the cool things that they have to offer.
Awesome. I think that's a really good explanation. So today we're going to be talking with Liza Galano and JP from SmartBots. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. Lisa, JP, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
How's everyone doing today?
Doing absolutely good, Tina and Tiffany. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We are very excited to talk to you guys all about Gen AI and SmartBots and Amazon Bedrock today.
Excellent. So SmartBots, how long has SmartBots been around? What can you tell me about the company?
Sure. So we started our journey about 5 years back. I'm one of the co-founders, been associated from day one. Along with my other co-founder Charan, we were primarily building solutions, support automation solutions on top of AWS services, all the cognitive services like Lex, Poly, language services, and then Amazon Connect. Uh, we were building custom applications on top of AWS primarily. And last 1 year, we have what we have realized is that we can productize all this knowledge, and then came up with this product, SmartBot Studio, that we are going to demo today. So it has been a 5 years journey working on top of Amazon Cloud.
Nice. Awesome. So, I know you mentioned earlier that you are not US based. So, where are you coming to us from today?
I'm connected from India. Liza is in New York, but I'm here in India.
Oof, what time is it there?
It's about 4 o'clock, 4 a.m.
Ooh, very early or very late, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's good to
thank
have an
you for,
early start.
yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. If you guys are ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over to you, and you can tell us all about SmartBot Studio and how we can use it.
Sure. We are all set.
Okay, let me go ahead and bring.
So before I talk about SmartBot Studio, let me introduce myself, and I'd let Lisa also introduce herself. I am the CTO at SmartBots. I take care of most of the tech initiatives at SmartBots, and I am also the solution architect for SmartBot Studio. And as I said, we have been building applications, tailor-made applications for enterprises using all the AWS services, primarily on the language side. And for the past 1 year, we have converted all that experience that we have gained into a product, and we call it SmartBot Studio. And prior to my association with SmartBots, I was an entrepreneur for about a decade. And by qualification, I'm a computer science engineer. And I'm really passionate about solving enterprise problems using AI and machine learning. That's about me briefly. Liza, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Liza Galano. Thank you again for having me here. As an engagement manager, I work largely with our client base. Certainly work with the technical team as well. Now I'm dating myself. I have 20 plus. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Experience in technology. And I love technology. I mean, I look back in 20 years plus ago, what I was doing then and compared to what I'm doing now, I am more and more passionate about what I do every day. The type of technology that is available to solve business problem is just incredible. We're moving in a very fast pace, and my ability to solve customer problem it becomes easier. My job has gotten so much easier over time. And today, I think we're going to talk a little bit about how we are a very customer centric and a solution and that we have provided to our customer. And I think looking back at reflecting, it's year end. So reflecting back, thinking about how we tend to solve problems in the past are very system centric. It's very what the system required versus what we're doing today. And JP is going to talk a lot about the solution and demo how we approach solving business problem is very process oriented or user base oriented to make this experience far more superior than what we have delivered well in the past. So yeah, I'm going to bring a little bit more of the business case and how our users have used the solutions and how they are able to leverage large language model to solve the most complex problem. So thanks again for having me.
Excellent. Super excited.
Sure. So about the SmartBots as an organization, I would like to spend a minute there. So we, as I said, were building a lot of custom solutions on top of Amazon Lex primarily, and now Amazon Bedrock for the past 1 year. And so the challenges that we have seen are around customer support and employee support automation. Let me ask you one question to the people around here. So the most obvious use case when it comes to large language models, what do you guys think is the most obvious use case for applying large language models? Let me answer it for you. It's the chatbot solution, right? So it's
Gotcha.
automating support. Chatbots on top of large language models have become quite famous. So it's obvious that customer support automation or employee automation, there are intrinsic problems. Forget about large language models. Large language models have just come in now and are addressing this problem, but the problem has been existing for enterprises. There's a lot of operational inefficiencies that are there when you're doing customer support or employee support. And so that's given. I'm not saying that that's the problem. That's a given. That's a fact that there are challenges in inefficiencies in support automation. But what we at SmartBots are trying to do is for enterprises who want to optimize or who want to add to efficiencies in support automation, we help them in deploying those solutions. And now the problem actually starts when with large language models, thanks to the amount of power they carry, it's extremely easy to do a POC, but it is extremely difficult to productionize the solution. So that's the gap that we have noticed, and we are trying to bridge that with SmartBot Studio. So that's about a high level. We'll dig deep into how we are doing that in the course of time. And the agenda for today is primarily around the studio. We are not going to, we are only going to use the slides as an anchor, but spend most of the time on the application as such. So there are 4 components. There's only one demo that we are going to present, but divided into 4 sections. The first section is about building the bot itself, then which is entirely based on the description that we give. Second section, we have a document search bot that we are going to build, which is again adding as one more capability to the same existing bot. Then the third part of the demo is going to be taking one of the foundation models, fine-tuning it on top of Amazon Bedrock, and then again linking it back to the SmartBot Studio. And the fourth section talks about security. How do we deploy it in a private environment? So these are the 4 parts of the demo that we are going to cover today. So the team team is here. And yeah, I would also like to talk a bit about a partnership association with AWS. So AWS has been a wonderful partner for us. We have leveraged a lot of perks that we got with this partnership. We started our journey, as I said, 5 years back, and for the past little over 3 years, we have been AWS partner. We have gone through all the processes and went tier by tier up in the ladder. And this year, we also got one more badge, which is AWS Conversational AI Software Competency. And so the support we got from AWS has been phenomenal. Liza, if you want to add anything, Liza was the primary point of contact with all our AWS engagements.
Yeah, I love having AWS as partner. Honestly, everybody has been very, very supportive, and we were just chatting backstage right before we started. We have really a marketing team on the AWS side. Tracy has been a really great cheerleader, and everybody has been helping us. This partnership truly is a partnership because we help AWS customer deliver solutions, and they give us equal amount of help, if not more, on engaging with our customer as well. So it's been very successful because it's a true partnership and we work well together. So yeah, shout out to
Good.
folks.
Glad you guys have had such a good experience so far and great interactions with the team here. And I know that conversational AI competency is a relatively new competency as well. So congratulations on getting that early on. That's a really cool achievement.
Yeah,
Sure.
and for that we work with our team partner there to help us is Victor Rojas has been helping us achieving that conversational AI competency partnership as well. So huge shout out.
Excellent.
So getting quickly into the context, the digital transformation in customer support is the main problem that we are dealing with. And the obvious fact is that there are inefficiencies, as I just pointed out. And so the employee support, customer support automation are given. And let us see how we can use SmartBot Studio. And I'll quickly jump into the the section 1 of the implementation, which is the building a descriptive bot. And as I said, there are challenges challenges while developing an enterprise-grade conversational AI solution or a Gen AI solution. Building a POC is very simple. Like, you give a description. Let me take a use case. The use case that we have picked for the current demo is that of a travel bot. And the travel bot helps in the customers plan their travel, maybe a vacation or a business tour. For a hypothetical company, say we have a company for which we are trying to build this solution for. And in that scenario, what happens is, if you're doing a POC on top of large language models, all we need is one good description of the use case. You can say that you are a travel assistant helping the customer with all the travel needs, and and that description would be sufficient for the large language model to help the customer respond to the customer queries. But when we take it to the production, there are 3 aspects that are missing that we see that SmartBot Studio is able to help the enterprises with. And most of the conversation, most of the topics that we're going to discuss will be about these 3 points. The first one is, of course, the data security, which is the obvious thing. And we have been seeing that a lot of cases around data security concerns which large language models have. The second and third is something which I would like to highlight in most of the demo part today. The second one is control. Enterprises need control on top of large language models. And if you have just one description or a one instruction that is going to a large language model, we believe that it is not sufficient, not enough control which enterprises have. That's the second point around control. And the third part is about maintenance. so once you make some change today, what I've been seeing in enterprises is you need to make a lot of code changes, and then we go through a large development cycle of about 3 months, and that therefore maintenance becomes really a big challenge. So we are trying to address these three aspects: the security aspect, the control aspect, and the maintenance aspect.
Yeah, and
So
I'll add a little bit to what reiterate some of the key points JP was talking about, and thinking about traditional chatbot versus what we are trying to deliver. And I would equate traditional chatbot tend to be a little bit like dancing in ski boots. Kind of, it's not really fun, right? It's difficult to do, and sometimes it could feel like daunting. The moment you deploy the solution, you have inherited a giant pile of tech debt because they tend to be inflexible. They tend to be very difficult to maintain. I think those are some of the points that JP was pointing out. Whereas our solution, because it's in the year, you're gonna have to figure out your New Year resolution. I would say that we're a little bit more like yoga of chatbots. We're a little bit more flexible, and we're always ready to adapt because we are able to adopt a microservice architecture. So you can think of it as like we are able to swap out the part easily, just like changing outfits and switching to different models, like large language model, which JP is going to show. It's as simple as really clicking on a drop down and picking the right language model that fits your need. And that's really important because as we kind of go into the fine tuning in selecting model, that's an important aspect. It's not one size fit all. Not all language model fits your use case, and we allow for that flexibility, which is very important to note. Now, before JP jumps into this process augmented, how we built chatbot, something to note is that the reason why we are choosing this path, choosing to allow users to think about process augmented, the way to build a chatbot as a starting point, again, different, not to pick on traditional chatbots. They're great. They've been serving us for a long time. But to take advantage the power of large language model, we are allowing our users to navigate a little bit better in the dark. It's almost like using a large language model, you are like turning on the brightest light in the room. It lights the path. It kind of shows you the way from an end user perspective, how they can navigate and get to the endpoint versus traditional way. And as I mentioned earlier, systems that tend to build for systems, right? Users have to be trained to talk to systems. Whereas now we're doing it the other way around. We're training the system to talk to human. So that's a really big differentiator. As you see the demo, as you see how JP is showing what our process builder looks like, keep that in mind and see if that resonates. So without further ado, I think JP is ready to show us how Studio works.
I do want to say really quick, I like that comparison. You guys are the yoga of chatbots.
sure.
That's great.
I'm going ahead and sharing the demo screen. Let me know once you guys are able to see the screen.
Let me switch you out there.
Yeah, we see Studio.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the studio where you can build your GenAI apps, or the bots as we call them. And so what I'm going to do quickly is build a bot, and throughout the demo, throughout the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I'm going to use the same bot, add more and more capabilities, see how enterprises are going to create a solution from scratch.
Nice.
And when we are creating a new bot, there are either you can create a blank one, like you have all the configuration from the ground zero, or you can pick one of the templates, which I'll show quickly now. And then the AI generate. This is the cool thing that I'm going to demonstrate in a bit. The templates is where you have the industry template, so you don't have to start from ground zero. You have the processes which are necessary for a particular industry. Say I've picked insurance, you have policy management, claim processing, life and home insurance. All these things are already built in, so you can start from a pre-configured level. Let me take the AI generated one, which is really cool, and let me give a name. And for this, I have a description that I've already written down. So this is how a business user would describe the use case. So this is TravelPal, a chatbot which helps in gathering information about the booking and then help in doing a end-to-end booking process for the customer. And so I saved this description, and this, as you have seen, this is an AI generate feature. What it does is it will create a bot in the background. So it creates an empty shell first, and then there's a default channel that is needed to interact with the bot. And then the set of processes start getting created one after another. While that is yeah, so we see that the first process, which is gather travel preferences, this is the first process that is getting created. It takes about 5 minutes for all the processes to be created. While that is happening, let us go and see few other capabilities. I have a bot which is already built. We'll come back to this bot while it is getting built.
It's like a cooking show. We already
Yeah.
have one prepared while the other one is in the oven.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is the bot that is getting built, and I have a bot already built beforehand, so that we can, without wasting much time, we can go through. So I'm in the bot, and as I said, this is the build part. Let me quickly walk through so that we all get familiarized with the studio. Studio has a bunch of options. This is the high level view. There are three processes. We'll see what processes are all about. We have knowledge where you can add FAQ, links, and documents. Then we have integrations. If you have any backend system that you want to connect this process to, then you can create an integration. And finally, configuration, where you can pick the large language model of your choice. So these are the various capabilities that are possible on a studio for an enterprise to customize or play around with. Let us go through the processes. These are the three processes which, again, based on the description, got created. And so as I said earlier, the control is the most important factor which enterprises would look forward for in a large language model Gen AI based application. And for ensuring the enterprises have as much control as they need, these processes are something which will help. And let me have a look at this one process. This is a simple uh, process flow that we have here, which got generated with the description that I just gave to the underlying model. And what this does is we have the set of steps which business users follow while defining their system, right? Their business process, right? So if you are taking a customer support automation for booking, in this case, we first gather travel requirements. Then if a travel option is identified, then go and provide the details. And then if the user confirms, then complete the booking. This is a typical process that any enterprise in the booking industry would follow. Of course, there will be some customizations which are specific to that industry, but this is the process that the enterprises would follow. So what we are essentially doing is, instead of giving a simple instruction, we are giving a process to a large language model, and based on the process, the large language model decides how to respond to the user. So now it is a multi-dimension control that we are giving, from a simple statement or an instruction, which is simple text, to a process which the business users are quite familiar with. We are not introducing any new language. This is something enterprises are already familiar with. And as this is getting I mean, this is the concept of process. And if there's anything that I would like to leave you guys with today, it is one word, which is process augmented generation. All of us are familiar with retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, as we call in the large language model space, in the generative AI space, where you take a document, you upload a document, and apply the concept of RAG to do an enterprise search. Exactly similar to that, what we strongly believe is that the next level of Gen AI applications is going to be process augmented generation. and you give a process to an LLM, and that is the final that is used by the LLM to respond to the end user. So while now let us get back to our
Before you move on, I want to just point out the fact that I think this is super cool. I when I saw this functionality for the first time, I was blown away. And even for our existing bot customers, when they saw this process and the impression they get is, "Oh, look, we already have processes established, so why would I need to use this? I already don't know what I'm doing." This is something I alluded to earlier. Existing process, traditional chatbot tend to be very system oriented. If nothing else, it is like giving your bot a new pair of glasses and get different perspective and really see the path clearly from a end user perspective and compare it against your existing process. The worst thing that can happen is that it validates that you have done the right thing, but you might be surprised what new perspective you get to see, right? It's what they say, trust but verify. So this is like super cool, just understanding, hey, this is what I wanted to do. And the bot is able to automatically generate some processes for you as a starting point. If you don't already have an existing bot, but if you do, this is just serving as a validation point for our users.
Can I ask a quick question about this?
Absolutely.
So with this, with using generative AI for this, do you guys find that the results end up being better matched to what the customer or the user is looking for? Like what success criteria do you guys end up knowing from this?
Yeah, I would say that so number one, the first thing is it really speeds up the process. Traditional bot building require typically a conversational designer. It's a great requirement gathering process, but you're starting from a blank piece of paper. So what this does, it serves as an accelerator, if you will. It gives you a starting point and say, hey, we're going to have to go through this process, but we have a starting point. Are we on the right path? Are we on the wrong path? And like I said, if nothing else, it really is an accelerator for our users. Not have to go to a blank whiteboard and say, okay, guys, what do you want? What are you looking for? Right? So that's the biggest win for us, having this feature.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Other questions?
I guess my other question is how you guys came up with this as a product idea.
Well, look at JP. That's how he lost all his hair. No, just all kidding aside, JP, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have spent enough time in support automation, working with enterprises, and what we have realized is that it's a tough war to educate an enterprise on top of on this new conversational AI technology, right? If you ask them to learn about intents, slots, and other specific terminology which is conversational AI centered, it's really difficult. It's a learning curve, and we need to convince the IT team to understand this new technology. And business teams are very much are dependent on the vendors and the IT teams to get even a simple feature rolled out. So to address the business users problem, we've been sitting next to the business users, see how they build the business processes, and we intentionally kept it extremely simple so that they don't have to learn a new subject altogether. And therefore the processes are something which they do on a daily basis. If you take a BA in any enterprise, that's what they start their day with. So that's how we came up with this idea that we need to empower the business users, and that's how it started.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, I'll stop interrupting. I'll let you guys get back to it.
Yeah, so the processes are getting created, and as you can see, there are a bunch of processes which are around gathering travel preferences, suggest travel options, and COVID-related information has also come up. And let us take a look at these processes. So this is my already cooked bot, and let me see what is getting cooked. So this is the bot which is under development. There are four processes that are already created: verify visa requirements, provide COVID-19 information, all these four processes. And again, this is all LLM generated. So yeah, so this is generated by Anthropic Claude 2, where you can see that there is there's some discrepancies here and there, but yeah, you can correct them. So this is the business process which the large language model came up with. And so we are using large language models both in the build process, build setup. So this is all helping the business user build their business process if they don't have them already. And also the end user, like the business users, end customer, would also be getting a more controlled response, because this is the process that would be augmenting the LLM's response. So yeah, we have the processes, and it takes a bit of time. We have I think 5 6 processes will get created based on the description. Let me get back to the bot which is already created. And so this is the bot that I've created. There we have 3 processes. And if you believe that you need to create one more process, so what we just did was gave an overall use case description. But now inside the processes, you want to create another process which you think the large language model was unable to create. Then here you can define that specific process. I see that cancellation of booking is not there. So let me create a process for cancellation of the booking. And again, you have options here to either manually create. You can create on the canvas, you can create each and every node, or maybe you can go to AI generate. You can also import an existing process. Let me do the AI generate part. And for that, the description I'm giving here, let me read out. This is interesting. What I'm saying is I want a process to facilitate ticket cancellation. For this, collect booking details like booking ID, phone number, etc. And one more important business aspect that I have included in the last statement here is ask for cancellation reason and try to nudge the user to reschedule the travel plan if possible instead of cancellation. So now this could be a business decision to, like, whenever someone is interested in cancellation, ask if they want to reschedule, and so that you're not actually ending up canceling the entire travel plan. And let us see how this gets converted to a business process. Again, this takes about a little over a minute.
While we're waiting for that, there is a
Yeah.
question in chat that I'll bring up here. So they're asking about real-time updates, especially for rapidly or dynamic changing aspects.
So real-time updates, I'm trying to understand the question from a large language model point of view. What we are doing is we are making it LLM agnostic, which is what I'm going to show in a bit. If you have a new large language model, all you can do is integrate the same processes with the new language model, and and then the application will be up and running. So as we see that today we have Anthropic 2.1 got released recently. Llama also has been releasing. Meta has been releasing a lot of large language models. So then, if there's a new one coming in the future, all you need to do is connect. So that's how you'll ensure that the latest changes are intact. And again, I'm still trying to understand the question in terms of real-time updates, which are typically businesses don't make a process change on a real-time basis. They would update it based on a business decision, which doesn't happen often. But the real-time component is around the backend system. If you have a backend system, you need to get real-time data from that, and I'll show in a bit how you can embed a integration with the backend system. And inside a process, like at one of the nodes, you can say that now at this time send an SMS, or at this point of time create a ticket. So those things are possible. I'll show in a bit. And I see that I'm not sure if I've answered that question fully, but based on the content here, that's what made sense to me. And I see that the cancel booking got created. Let us get back to the building process. Oh, okay, this is all over. But anyway, so this looks like we have a reasonably good process that got created. And let us look at how this looks like. So you have collect booking details as we have recommended in the text, and then get the reason for cancellation and suggest reschedule. And if the user is okay with rescheduling, then go for a rescheduling process, right? And let me tweak this process a little bit. I don't want to do this step after collecting booking details. I directly want to go and collect the reason. I can delete this step here and instead directly connect the process to get the cancellation reason. So this is the process flow that we have, and we have a test. We can test this before we take it to the. I mean, while during the building process, you might often want to test how this solution is looking like, and here that you can do with the test interface. And let us say I want to cancel my booking. And so this is here at this node collecting the booking details, and I say. We are essentially interacting with the large language model based on the process, based on each step here. And now you move to the next node where you're trying to get the reason for cancellation. So this is good. I mean, you can go forward and then it will ask if you want to suggest a reschedule. Let us see if how the rescheduling process would happen. I wanted to. So then it asks if to reschedule instead of canceling, and if you say yes, then you'll be directed to the rescheduling process here. So this is the amount of granular control that you are able to get when you are doing this process augmented generation as a concept. And the level of control that you can take this to, you can is immense. From say here you are collecting booking details, and all that the bot is doing in while collecting the details is based on this simple description, like collect booking id, phone number, to identify booking. So if you have any specific value that you want to capture as a part of your process, or you want to validate it with a date of birth of the customer, then there is an option here where, again, AI generate is, you can find it at multiple places. This is like the co-pilot which helps in easing the development process for the business user. And when I'm generating here, these are the well-defined attributes that you want to capture while going through this process. So I don't think I need this third one, but instead of phone number, let me see if I can collect date of birth. And let me try it one more time just to see how enterprises, how this particular change is going to get reflected.
Yeah, so while JP is typing away, I would say this is a cool process that you can just go with, like testing and modifying, and rarely do you get the first round right, right? This is not intended for creation and then immediately deploy to production, but it certainly helps you to identify what seems right and what doesn't seem right. It's almost like, hey, asking your family, what do you want for dinner? You can sit there for hours and hours with a blank sheet of paper, right? Here's three options. Do you want Italian? Do you want Chinese? Do you want Indian? Somebody's going to tell you what they don't want. And this is kind of serving the same process, right? This doesn't look right. I don't like this. Let me refine. And this is a far speedier and easier process to follow.
We've got a couple more questions in chat if you guys want to take a break for a second and go over those.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. First, this is after a call out that this is really cool for like an Airbnb type app, possibly. So also they were curious if you have a way to measure customer experiences, predictive complaints. Say we simulate customer experiences using large language models.
Yeah, and Airbnb, feel free to call us if you want an app developed. Waiting for your call. So in terms of metrics, and I think, I don't think we allocated enough time for metrics and analytics, but we can certainly speak to it a little bit. JP, if you want to tackle that, we do have some customer experience scores and things in that nature. So
Yeah. So that brings to the third aspect. So we spoke about. We are here to speak about data security, which we'll cover. The second is control that we are trying to cover in terms of how much control does enterprises have on top of LLMs. The third part is about maintenance, and in maintenance you have to measure the success, right? So, and that's where the analytics piece comes into play. We can measure the customer, the CSAT scores. There's a lot of logs that we capture as part of each of this interaction. We collect data about data. As users are interacting, all this information is captured and then analyzed. There is a bit of large language models that is also used for understanding the underlying the information that is underlying among all the conversations, like what are the most common topics that have come up. I can show that in a bit as part of the monitoring part. Yeah, so that's, we are definitely doing a lot of measurement on all of the conversations that happen real time.
Awesome. And then the next question. You guys are getting a lot of questions so far. I like it. Next one, where does the output end up? So is there an enterprise ticketing system? And then how would it integrate into their business?
Sure. So that's the next step, that as part of my demo, where I'll connect with an enterprise system and then create a ticket.
Okay. And then the other ones are kind of reiterations or thumbs ups to that question. So that they haven't seen anything about Airbnb APIs or automations, or maybe a full stack website.
yeah,
So it sounds like we'll get there.
we're going to show the integrations shortly. Everybody's excited
Excellent.
to see the next part. So we will show the magic behind the scenes, I promise.
Nice. All right.
So yeah, moving on to the integrations, which is the coolest part here. So in integrations, what I'm going to show is how we can integrate with the backend system. So I've moved to the integration sections. I'm trying to create the pre-built integrations with few systems already, like Salesforce, Zendesk. Let me do a custom integration, because custom gives the scope of what all APIs that you can integrate with, not just one single enterprise system. Every enterprise system that has a REST protocol support API, we will be able to integrate. And when you do a custom integration, so say, again, I'm taking Salesforce as an example. Though we have a pre-built one, I'm taking it as a custom integration. And there is a secure way with which you need to integrate with the backend system. So what we are doing now is the studio is interacting with Salesforce through a secure protocol. OAuth is what we have here. And for OAuth, you need a bunch of details. So this is the handshake that is happening between SmartBot Studio and Salesforce. And for this, I need to provide all these details for secure access. I have them in another document. Let me quickly grab them and paste them here. So now the integration is established with Salesforce, and there's one more step. After you do an integration, we have to create something called an action. Action could be something like creating a ticket, creating a contact in Salesforce. You can create as per your choice. And let me create a ticket. And for this, we need the API definition. Again, this API definition is used by large language models to follow the set of steps while collecting information for fulfilling this particular API. And so this is the common practice even for Bedrock agents, where you give the definition of the open of the API endpoint in Open API standard. So this is not properly formatted, but I guess you got the point. We are giving the details about the entire Open API, the API definition in Open API format. And once we save, we get something called as an action. So here we have the action. Now, once you are done with all the integration related work, I've done two steps. The first step is to establish the connection with Salesforce, then come and I came into an action, inside the integration and created an action. Let me get back to the process of canceling a booking. And so we collect the details, get the reason for cancellation, and I'll ignore the rest of the steps. I'll focus on creating a ticket. So let me delete these steps here. And after getting the reason, let me just go ahead and create a ticket. A simple process, get the booking details, reason for cancellation, and create a ticket. And for this, now that we have already created the action, we'll have to configure that here. This create ticket action is there, and see I'm just trying to give a hypothetical value here, maybe for the subject and description. I'm picking random values from the information that is collected so far, and I save it, and that's it. So the integration with the system is all set. So this answers the earlier question: how do you do an integration with the enterprise system? And you can do multiple things. You can create a ticket, then send an SMS, or leave it to the large language model to decide when to take an SM, when to create a ticket, or when to perform any action. So that's the beauty of the process augmentation. As I said, you can make it descriptive or predictable based on its own intelligence. So,
and with the actions, is that also something that can be tested out in the testing function that you showed earlier?
oh yeah. So this is actually so if you remember, while creating a bot, there's something called a default channel that got created. This is essentially that default channel through which we are interacting. This is just like any other production. Your endpoint that where the solution is available. You can test it here.
Awesome.
Nice.
So the process, is very straightforward. Now you go to Salesforce and then you see that ticket gets created. So that's how integration works. I'll if time permits, I can walk through the entire step, go to Salesforce and see how that happens, but it is pretty straightforward. And moving on, there's another concept that I wanted to highlight, which is of absolute great value, is the configuration with picking the model of your choice. Before I get there, any questions, any points, Liza, you want to add on integrations?
No, this is the part where I pointed out earlier how easy it is to switch a model. It is, you're gonna be mind blown. It's just picking a value in the drop down. So go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's like I just ruined it, didn't I?
That's fine.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So
Really, though, I love how user friendly this seems to be.
It really is. Like systems these days, it does not come up with a thick instruction manual. You
Mhm.
don't need extensive days on end training classes. It's pretty easy, intuitive, and just a session's 15 minutes, or you can actually just go and click around and figure out how this works. It's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
it's really cool. We do have one question that just came up in chat, asking about version control and how you handle that for the bots. So, is there an infrastructure as code that breaks down the GUI into something that can be stored in a code repo, or are we just about to get to that again?
Part
Yeah,
4.
yeah,
Okay, awesome. So that
sure.
is the answer to that one is coming up
Yeah,
shortly.
I'll show it. I'll answer it right away because
Oh,
that's,
awesome.
I mean, I have it here. So, as I said, the second part is on the maintenance part, where it becomes extremely important to have version control and have multiple instances. We need a QA instance, you need a production instance, you need a dev instance. So, let me move from the studio to deploy. And
Mhm.
in deploy, you have releases where there's a latest version which is the working copy. You can create one more version here, say the version 2 for, so I'm just testing it now. So the new version got created, and then you can map it. Say you want to do a QA deployment, and you don't want the latest changes that you're making to get reflected. So all you need to do is point the QA to the second version and publish it, and the QA team will be able to play with the stable QA version. So that's how I think that answers this question. I'll get back to the large language model configuration part. So yeah, so there is a default configuration. We point to a recommended large language model which has a good latency and a reasonable quality. But if you want, you have your own Bedrock instance, or if you have any other large language model instance, be it OpenAI or any other instance, you can bring it here. And so you have the providers right now. OpenAI and Amazon are here. Let me pick Amazon. And in Amazon, we support these models. These are something which we have tested, and the bots work reasonably well. And apart from that, you also have a custom deployment. So from Amazon Bedrock, it's a, I mean, you can try playing with other models. You have Llama 13B, Llama 70B. You can connect with those models and then see how the bot would respond. For this, let me take Anthropic Claude V2, the 2.0 version of Anthropic. And since this is a different model, I need to provide the authentication credentials. These are the access details which are required to call the system. Let me save it. So what essentially I've done is, in the earlier demo where I was interacting with the bot, I was interacting with the default large language model. Now I switched gear, and now the system is interacting with Anthropic. Let me see how it works. I'll do the same demo again. As you can see, there's some amount of delay. Anthropic Claude V2 is a reasonably large model with latency. It is the first response came in, and either let's get started. And then there's one more message I'm just waiting for based on the process flow. Yeah. So it says, I need your booking ID. What is your booking ID? And so there is a subtle change. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but the large language models respond is different. So the earlier model was very much to the point, and Claude 2 is more the more it's more verbiage. It's the number of words in Claude 2 output is generally high. So we get this kind of a response, and you can start interacting. You can pick the model of your choice. If latency is an issue, then pick a lighter one. And processes are and the power of this solution is that this is all process augmented. So you don't always have to go with a powerful model, uh, because there is a process that acts as a skeleton for the entire conversation. So you get two advantages here. One is in terms of the latency, you get quick responses, as the case was with the default configuration. And second, in terms of the number of tokens which are used for the cost that is used for all these language models will increase based on the size of the model. So you get the cost advantage and the latency advantage if you go with a lighter model. And the reason it will work is because of the process augmentation. Let me get back to the default configuration and show it one more time how quick the default model that is recommended by SmartBots is. So it's super fast, right? So yeah, so that's the power. So you don't always have to go for the best model, and that's a significant business value that you get with this approach of process augmentation.
Out of curiosity, is there any way for your customers that are creating these bots to anticipate which model is going to be the best for their use case? Like balancing between the efficiency and the accuracy? Or is
So
it a test, like a trial and error?
yeah, so the general recommendation is as the complexity increases, right?
Mhm.
So the number of processes increase, the large language models tend to perform better. If you are looking at, say, under 20 processes that you want to automate, then the recommendation is to go for a smaller model. The accuracy levels will be higher with a smaller set of processes with a small model.
Yeah, and I think the way that we approach it, it's really we're answering the question but not answering the question, by saying that it really depends. It depends
Mhm.
on the use case. In general, what we have tackle, because these bots are not just chat bots, not deployed to a website, but one thing I think that we should point out is that once you define the model, it could be a voice bot, it could be a chat bot. So you have to consider, if you are
Mhm.
deploying a voice bot, the latency is going to be a lot more apparent, right? For users, you have to like wait quite a bit.
Mhm.
And the way we have approached it, and JP, I'm sure you can talk about it some more, is we focus on using the large language model, the large language models, right? The heavier model with a little bit more latency on the bot building process. And if we can build better process for runtime, we don't necessarily need to have those very sophisticated model, right? Just for simple interactions. The lightweight bots are much better on performance wise, latency, and it's good enough, right? So that's how we typically would tackle it. But it really depends on the use case. If the interaction require a lot of complexity, require a lot of understanding, we have to go with the large model. We have tackled
Mhm.
some like internal usage where really complex understanding is required. In that case, even for runtime, you require those bigger models.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That does answer that pretty well.
Sure.
And then if anybody is just tuning in, we're about at the halfway point, so I'm going to reintroduce you guys really quick. So today we are talking with SmartBots AI. So today they are showing us their SmartBots Studio, and they're going through a demo right now to show you how simple it is to help you build custom bots that use generative AI. And they're using Amazon Bedrock for this. So if you do have any questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. I am going to, for those that are not able to stay with us the entire time, I am going to drop a survey link into chat so that you can do that in your own time. And we'll go ahead and get back into it. Back to
Sure.
you.
I see that
Yeah.
we have a lot more questions. Do we want to tackle some of those as well?
Yeah, let's go ahead and read through some of these. So we talked about the version control, and I hope that they'll let us know if that wasn't enough information. Next one was a comment about checking with Airbnb policy that they do not accept any API requests unless you're already partnered, but that if SmartBots partnered with them, they would use it after testing it out.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of info. Yeah.
We'd love to keep with them. We're not yet a customer, so anytime we appreciate it.
And then I'm also going to put a little QR code up in the top corner if people want to complete a survey without having to necessarily migrate away from it. So you can scan that with your phone if you want to leave us some feedback. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back to the demo. This is really interesting so far.
Yeah, and JP, maybe you can tackle a little bit. I think you touched on it some more. There was a comment on cost and using the model GPT-4 costs more, but looks like they have more better model perhaps. So can you talk a little bit? I think we have that prepared for later. Why don't we address that now in terms of cost versus value?
Sure. So the method that we are using is process augmented generation, which can work with smaller models, and that covers most of the use cases. We'll have to go for large language. I mean, the large language models only for special for cases where the complexity is extremely high. So therefore, for most of the use cases, you can live with small models where the cost is significantly low. I see that 1/10 of the cost you get the output of a large language model today. So you don't have to fine tune, you don't have to work with extremely large language models. All you need to do is build your process right, and that's the way we believe is the. I mean, it's an easy win. Just like how RAG is more effective than fine tuning or RLHF. This process augmented generation for this kind of solutions is a smart way to deal with large language models instead of spending a lot of dollars on fine tuning or going for a large model.
Yeah, and let's actually show an example. I think that's the second part of our demo, is to show how do you build a document bot, and I think it features RAG. So JP, you want to dive into the next one, or do you have anything else you
Sure.
want to wrap up here?
Yeah, I have another one part which is around the FAQs. So again, the FAQs and documents, let us handle them together, Lisa. I'll go ahead and create a new bot for that. Let me create a blank bot. So here, what I'm doing is first of all, let me create a bunch of FAQs. So you can, again, I'm in the studio. I have gone to the knowledge section. So processes I'm not touching now. I'm going to the knowledge section and I'm adding FAQs. You can either create one FAQ after another, question and answer, or then import a set. Let me import a FAQ. This supports the CSV format of the FAQs. And one second. So I've uploaded a CSV and you get all this question and answer pair. And it takes about a minute for the backend to convert all these FAQs into vectors. And then once it is all done, you can start interacting with the bot. You can build a process, add FAQs all in one single bot. The backend, the runtime engine, SmartBots runtime engine is capable enough to understand whether it is an FAQ or a process and accordingly respond. And if it is both FAQ answer is relevant and a process answer is relevant, it will intelligently merge both of them and give you a response. So, but I think the build would have been completed. It takes about a minute. So I'll just do a simple test here on showing how this would work. And so you got a response, and of course I've copied it and then pasted. Of course it should work, but if I make a bit of deviation, still it should work. And again, this is all the underlying default model, which is converting this text into embeddings and doing a similarity search. So based on the model that you select, the quality of embeddings will improve. And that's one factor where LLMs play a key role. If you want a better quality FAQs, then you definitely can look for better quality large language model. And also, as the number of FAQs increase, it is recommended to go for a larger model. So okay, didn't find an answer on the cancellation policy. How is my data? Just making up one more question. So I didn't give an exact question. I gave a similar question and it is able to map. So this is just to show how FAQs would work. Moving on, there is a documents feature where you can upload your enterprise documents. We'll talk more about how this would work. But before that, let me quickly show the demo. So while this takes about again a minute, what happens in the background is the document is broken into chunks, converted to embeddings, and then those embeddings are stored in a database. And those and as we query and as we are querying with the system, the concept of RAG gets applied, retrieval augmented generation, and there is a advanced level of how RAG would work. So it's now completed. And you can see if you ask a question, this is and one more small thing that I need to do is enable the document search feature. So now the document is used as a base to respond. You got an answer plus the reference text from where this is picked. You get the file as well from where this particular response is picked from the document. And you have the exact text that is used for generating this response. So that's how the document search feature works. Lisa, you want to add anything on top of this?
Yeah, I would definitely share some of our users and how they have used these features. And FAQs are common on websites. The people usually do what a control F to find the answer they're looking for, and it's keyword based. It's really not effective. And I'm sure we all have experience as employees having to go find HR policy or figure out what our expense policy is. So one of our customer actually have created a compliance bot. It's integrated with their team channel, an HR bot as well. Like what is the leave policy? What's the next vacation? How many people have to look up when are we off next week for the holidays, right? So those are so much easier than to have to log into your enterprise system, your ERP system to find the answer. How many days do I have, per year for holidays and things like that. This is where it really comes in, the power comes in, right? Not only do you get a very simple answer, not having to call anyone or search for document to get an answer, but you actually get to see the reference text if you don't get the full answer or you want to read more about it. So that's a big difference between FAQ and the document search. And there are a lot of really great use cases. And I think every time a customer comes to us, and I think we have some of the audience mentioning how they would imagine using it, I always get very amazed in how creative people are in using these solutions. The power is there to solve the problem. We just have to think of things a little differently and really think outside the box.
Sure. Again, as I said, we had 4 sections in the demo, and we are in the first section of the demo. So in the interest of time, I'll try to move on. The third, we are actually in the second part where document search and FAQs are being covered. The third and fourth are also interesting. So I'll quickly wind up the second section. So the second section, I would also like to cover how these bots can be integrated with your enterprise system. So we spoke about how the backend systems get integrated, but we also need to deploy the solution somewhere, be it on a website, be it on a phone line, be it on a Teams channel. And that's where the deployment section would be of help. So first we got this version created, and then you have the channels. This is what it would act as a phase to interact with the system. So you have the test interface while you're playing around, but once this is all done, you need to deploy. And for that, as I said, we connect with IVR channels like Amazon Connect, or if you have a CCaaS platform, you can do a custom integration where you provide the required details. Again, this is similar to your enterprise system integration. A handshake with a CCaaS cloud contact center software should happen, which supports a SIP protocol, and then the configuration is all done. And let us look at web. Web is the straightforward, the most obvious one, where what you need to do again is just give a name, say And again, so this is where the release management will help. You can go to QA prod or whatever version you want to release this, connect this channel to. Let me do it with dev. I haven't got the QA and prod ready, and again, you have a set of templates that you can pick from. This is the chat option that comes on the screen. Let me take one of the options here and create a channel. So the web channel is ready. What you get here is a plugin code snippet. You can copy this and paste it on your website, and the bot would appear at the bottom. And let us see how that would look like. You can try it out. So for now, it appears something like this, and now a bit of UI changes as per your as per the enterprise customers need. You can change, and the bot is already is available here again. So you can say what are the guidelines around written policy, the same question that I asked, and you'll get an answer here. So this is the web channel, and I would also quickly want to show the Teams channel integration here. I'll take about a minute to open that up. Lisa, if you have any points to cover, you can.
I do. I think the Teams integration is what I talked about earlier for our enterprise clients. It's not just Teams, it's Slacks, whatever your enterprise chat tool of choice. Those tools are extremely powerful, connecting your workers. And one thing we talked about at the very beginning. The two most use cases are chatbots for customer support. The other one is for employee experience. And after the pandemic, as we know, a lot of folks, like all of us, all 4 of us actually are working from home for the time being. And it's important to provide that experience for your employees to feel like they're still part of the community, right? Because you don't have the physical space anymore. And to be able to chat to a system instead of logging into that ERP system, it really is a game changer. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I've been getting ready for this all day. I have a question since we're talking about vectors and embedding. Give it a wild guess. Why do you think PG vector index go to therapy? Any guess?
Why?
Developer joke. It has too many complex relationships to sort out. I've been holding back all day. I've been waiting for this.
I love it.
I have knock jokes all day. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
go ahead.
you are seeing the teams add channel details, right? For teams.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, again, the same handshake with the teams channel. So
Yes, you can see
again,
really straightforward, as JP is adding the details. Like we're doing this live, and think about from your IT team's perspective. They don't need to write code. There's JP hasn't written a single line of code yet, and he loves writing code. It's all configuration. What does it mean? It means that it makes these integration a lot quicker and easier. You don't need a team of developer to deploy a tool like this to make it enterprise enabled. We have done all the hard work for you. So all you have to do is just configure it. How easy is it? Like we're what, an hour and a half into it. We have built what, 3 bots now so far,
Mm-hmm.
and we have deployed to multiple channels. And that's why we made the solution easy, for our AWS customers, and they can just deploy on top of. And JP had mentioned Connect. It's another way to really incorporate your AWS solution with ours. Right? People can, you have your user calling and then it interact directly with Studio here.
yeah. So yes, there's no code as far as, I mean, till now we're getting into the code in a while. And so what I did, just like the other integrations I've done in the course of time, I'm connected to Microsoft app. I created an app beforehand, and I've got the app ID and the password. And I have created this channel for Teams, and now the bot is available on Teams. Let me move. So you should be seeing the Teams channel, and I have this app that I've already created. And once I open, I can start interacting with this bot here on the Teams channel. See, and I'm sure, I mean, I'm assuming it will give the answer, but yeah, so that you got the point, right? So this is how the, yeah, so this is how the interaction would look like on Teams. So that covers the first and second section of the demo today. And if there are any questions in the chat, I can take it up, or any other points, Tiffany or Tina, you want to discuss, I'm open.
Sure. I'll go ahead and highlight this last comment that came in. Just calling out that it's super impressive and clarifying that they can train the bot on examples like simulated guest experiences, even based on in real life knowledge like a host. So, say a host wants to give the guest extensive information on how to start the oven if it's really complicated.
Yeah, and we have other chatbots too that we're not featuring today. We actually have a solution that we've developed for a customer support center using to train their agents. So to simulate experience, guest experience, what does it mean to deal with a very frustrated guest, an angry guest, giving the bot a scenario to work with. And then at the end, they get a CSAT score, scoring on how they interact with the guests. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
we definitely can do a lot with our solution here.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's dive into the next section, because I think we still have quite a bit of material and we
Yeah.
get to the really technical stuff
All
next.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
go ahead.
I'm going to shift gears a bit. What we have seen in the earlier demo so far is about picking the model the of your choice. You have a default model, and you can pick from the set of models that we have tested. And the next aspect of this is when you have a model that you want to fine tune. The concept of fine tuning is extremely important for the enterprises, because there will be words which the large language models are not familiar with, which are very specific to the enterprise. If you take a pharma company, for example, there'll be the drug names or the brand names that are very specific to their industry. So this kind of knowledge has to be trained for the large language models. Again, this is to improve the quality and make it exactly relevant. So again, as I said, we have the first step of process augmented generation, and then if that is not solving your problem, then only you'll have to go to fine tuning. You fine tune and use that base model for your LLM. And let us look at how fine tuning works. I'll be moving to the Amazon Bedrock screen. And also I have a bit of code that I have. One second.
Yeah, now we get to showcase Bedrock and get to see a little bit of behind the scenes action here. And to actually add on to what JP was talking about, the fine tuning really allows our customers to brand their solution. There are a lot of customization, right? And how their customers or the end user interact with system may not be the same. Like I'm gonna think about something like Target, for example. They don't call the employees, they call them members. So if your process customization didn't really take care of those things, and that's where you have to go into fine tuning to do a little bit more to tweak the model, and you're not training the model, right? You still have a base model. You still have to go through the step of picking the right model for your use case. But there are certain model that it's better fit, and once you do that, the fine tuning allow you to still use the train data, the train model to deploy your solution, but at the same time, you get to tweak it a little bit to make it work for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So for fine tuning, I have three screens here. One is the code part, which actually does the job of fine tuning the large language model. I have the terminal in which I'm running the job, and then I have the AWS Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock, where there is a section called custom models. So base models are something which we have seen that on the studio also we are able to support a few of them. And I'll move to the custom models where we are essentially trying to do the training job, train the model on a bunch of training data. And for that, so the training data looks something like this. There's too many screens I'm moving through. Hope, I mean, if there's any confusion, Lisa, stop me and I'll again walk through.
So we'll do
Yeah,
that.
sure. So there is this training data, which is nothing but a prompt completion pair, which is standard for training the large language models. It is, I mean, I've kept it really simple for the demo. Training takes a good amount of time. I've picked up a small data set where you have, say, how the bot should respond, and this gets baked into your large language model. And to do that job, what I'm doing is I'm taking this base model, Amazon Titan Lite, and then creating a job. This is all using the Bedrock SDK. And again, this JSON file that you have just seen, the data set, I've uploaded into S3 and giving that as the source and running this job. And so the job got created. If I go back to my Bedrock screen and under training jobs, so the job has started here. This is the job that I've just started. And it takes about 30 minutes or more, the entire training job. So for the sake of the demo, I've got this completed already, and I have a bunch of the models that are already trained. So the step after fine tuning, once you fine tune the model, you need to give, allocate, or create an inference endpoint. So the inference endpoint is where the large language model is available for you to interact with. And so I pick one of the one of the custom model that I have fine tuned. And so there is a section here in custom models called provision throughput. You need to purchase this provision throughput. This is the compute power needed for the inference endpoint. And I'll show how that would work. I'll click on provision throughput. and then you have this custom model, my own model that I've created before the session. And let me give a name. And then there are a set of options that you need to configure here. There's something called model units. Model units is an indication of the volume that you expect the model to, the inference endpoint to support. So you can have, you need to pick the right number of model units that fit for your use case. For this demo, I'm just taking one, and the reason I'm doing that is like this is definitely expensive. If you take, say for example, one model unit for 1 month, it comes to around roughly around $5,000, and say increase it to three, or say, and it just multiplies, it becomes 14K, a commitment. So it is like definitely going to, this is the amount that you're going to definitely spend. And you get a benefit if you give a commitment of 6 months, but still the numbers are big. And the ideal number of model units that you need for your use case, you need to determine beforehand. And this is the scaling problem that we see today with Amazon, with this large language models. It is fixed at this point of time, and I'm sure in the roadmap you'll have more dynamic scale. You'll have a better scaling option than buying it upfront. So looking forward for that. And so for this, let me take a single model unit, and I'm not doing any commitment, so I'll pay as I go, and it roughly comes to about $7 per hour. So I'll have to remember to turn it off after the demo. I'll go ahead and purchase this for now. and
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 talk
what
to your AWS AEs. They're really good at helping you navigate through the cost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it takes a bit of time for the model endpoint to get created, but once this is completed, you get a model ID. And what I'll do next is, since I'm sharing, so yeah, I'll have to go to this default configuration, pick the Amazon custom, and then give the credentials, the model ID that gets created from the provision throughput here, right? So that's how seamless, that's how easy it is for integrating your fine-tuned model with SmartBot Studio. Just like I showed the Claude 2, how Claude 2 integration works earlier, you can pick your custom model and integrate with your system. I'll see if this gets created in this course of the demo, but otherwise that's the point I wanted to communicate on, how to connect a fine-tuned model to your to the SmartBot Studio. Any questions?
Nothing showing up in chat right now. So
Okay.
you're good on that point.
Sure. So that's the third part, and I'll move on to the last part of the demo, which is the deploying this bot, deploying the solution on a
Before
private instance.
before you move on, though, I think one point that I like to make is that understanding the cost is a really big part of planning your work. And as you can see, it could get very complicated. And experimenting, it's not as easy as it seems. You do need a little bit of hand holding here, right? So for people who are really looking into doing fine tuning, it's not something you can just DIY. I want to say right off the bat, just because from the cost component perspective, this is a really good time to call out your friendly AWS partner like SmartBots. We can help you understand the use case and understand your usage and make the best recommendation, because like JP said, right, the cost is high, and it's something that you want to play around with. Start with like a solution already pre-built like SmartBot Studio. And if the process customization doesn't work for you, this is kind of like a last resort, right? It's yoga. This is like expert level yoga here. It's not for your beginner, and you really want to think it through before you go and experiment. So that's like a little PSA here.
Back to our yoga bots.
Yeah.
Sure. So we are moving to the last part of the demo, guys, and this is where the security aspect is something we haven't covered, and I'll try to cover as part of this last part, which is around the runtime deployment. So what essentially we are doing so far is like defining all the configurations and loading them into a runtime instance. So the processes, the knowledge bots, the FAQs, all the documents are all sitting in a backend system, and our runtime looks something like this. Uh, so you have this runtime architecture where the one inside the virtual private cloud in green here is what is SmartBots runtime instance is all about. Once you do this deployment and say you have your own AWS account, you can connect with your Amazon Bedrock or any of the AWS services. So as I was like making the handshake with various systems, including Amazon Bedrock, that's the connection that is established, that gets established. You need to deploy this in your environment, in your EC2, and I'll show how that deployment happens in a while. And you have two options. Either you can rely on SmartBots runtime instance, and that and if you want it to be completely within your environment, then you have this as well. So you have the data, your all the customer conversation gets into your RDS, your the data compute is yours, and the Amazon Bedrock instance would be yours. So that way you're all protected in all directions. So let me go ahead and do that on I'll show how the deployment happens. So for that, I'll move on to from fine tuning to deployment. And for deployment, let me close all of this. Yeah, so for deployment, I have a small script. So when you, as a customer, are interested, then we can do that one-time deployment at your in your AWS cloud. I have a very standard deployment setup here where I have a YAML's CloudFormation template. So the architecture that you have just seen here, where you have an EC2 instance, you have a load balancer, you have RDS, all that get created with this YAML file. And if you run the script, then what essentially is happening is in the background, all these resources get created. Let me do that. And what, again, just like the large language model inference endpoint, you get an endpoint once you run the script, and you can use that endpoint to connect to your chat interface. So it's like your chatbot from, say, you have a web channel, you'll be hitting your AWS EC2 instance via a load balancer, and you get the same experience that I showed on SmartBot Studio. So that is all about the deployment. Let me run the deployment actually. So I started this, I mean, the deployment process, the stack starts getting created. And if we go back to our Amazon cloud, I'm here in CloudFormation where the process, where the endpoint, where the stack gets created. The generation will take, again, some amount of time. So this is the stack that is getting created. And once this is done, you get a endpoint. And what I'm going to do next is I have a web channel. Again, this is in my local where the exact interface that you have seen sometime back, where yeah, so something like this is deployed in a server, but I have got the same setup on my local, and I'm going to change the endpoint, inference endpoint inside the code. and that's how the reference to this reference is going to change. Okay. So while this gets created, Lisa, any other points that you have that you want to cover?
Yeah, and I think we want to talk a little bit about security, right, JP? I think we didn't really get to address guardrail. We that's really part of the solution for fine tuning your bot. Do you want to talk a little bit about guardrails? And you actually published something recently. You made a statement for a AWS release. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So guardrails is something which was announced by AWS at reInvent, and that's a really important feature that has come up. I don't see any other large language provider has come up with that kind of a solution. And guardrails are especially important for especially for enterprises when they are dealing with sensitive data. And guardrails are as such a very simple feature. You need to give them in the form of a text on where to what all things to be avoided, configure it on SmartBot Studio. It is yet to be made generally available, but once that is there, then Bedrock I feel is the go-to place for all the enterprise large language model or Gen AI implementations.
Yeah, and with all the press about how scary it could be using Gen AI as an enterprise solution, I think that is a very big reason why we chose to build on top of Bedrock. And to summarize, like what I think the importance of why we need guardrails for AI, I will ask this question: why did AI cross the road?
Okay, why?
Because its guardrails make sure it followed the ethical path. And that truly is really how I feel. I mean, it's all joking aside. Like I said, I have young kids, so a lot of knock because it is so important for our enterprise customers. We do jump through hoops. We do work with financial companies that have handle a lot of sensitive data, pharma, and JP mentioned before. We work with enterprise security team, compliance teams, and I'm sure a lot of the audience probably are having to manage the same thing. Those guardrails make sure that these solutions are not kind of running wild, right? So I think that's really important to study up on guardrails, especially when you are if deploying a solution that's outward facing.
Sure. Thanks, Lisa, for filling it up. And
And my
I
not
Definitely that one.
So yeah, I mean, while we are talking, I got the process completed. The deployment is done. If you are able to see my screen, I got the endpoint here. So this is my endpoint to connect with, and you have your version of SmartBot Studio at your disposal. So I mean, you can use it directly from an API, or you can. I have this code already written where you have to go ahead and make adjust the new endpoint that got created, and you can run the server. This is the Angular server that we have created. Sorry.
The lack of sleep catching up to you, JP?
Yeah. So coding keeps me awake. It's,
It's not the truth.
Spoken like a true tech person.
Oh yeah. JP definitely enjoys writing code more than speaking with people, but
Hey, everybody has their preference.
hey, that's why he builds amazing solutions. I mean, look at what we've shown you guys today.
So I am going to
so
share some resources really quick. One of them that's going across the ticker on the bottom is the LinkedIn to connect with SmartBots. I'll turn it back over to you in just a second, JP. I just want to make sure that we
sure,
get some of this information out to people so that they all know how to reach out to you in the future. So
sure.
connecting with them on LinkedIn, it's going across the ticker. I'm also going to put it in chat in just a moment. If I may share your guys' YouTube channel, because I used that to do some research
Absolutely.
on you guys beforehand. So I'm going to switch that over to YouTube really quick. And again, I will share all of these links in the chat. And then, of course, there's also going to be the survey link. So we want to make sure we're continuously improving the show for everybody. So if you have any feedback about the show today, anything that you would like to see in the future, I'm also going to put the little QR code up in the corner for the next few minutes so that people can scan it without having to interrupt this episode today. So, all right,
Yeah.
I'll give it back over to you guys.
Thank you for all the shout outs. So yeah, definitely come and visit us.
Yeah.
You'll find us everywhere.
Sure. So the last part of the demo, I'll spend another couple of minutes and wind it up, which is the deployment part. And so I have a channel created. So what I'm going to do is, now that a private instance of the SmartBots runtime is available, the process got, sorry, the cloud formation template got deployed. We got the endpoint, and all I'm going to do is, and also I've made the code changes to integrate with the newly created endpoint, and I'm going to hit that the chat interface with the new endpoint that is created. For that, I need the channel ID. So this is a reference to which bot we need to speak with, and let me do that really quick. As I said, this is in my local, so you can see that it is localhost and running on 4200 port. And now the bot is now available on your private instance within your VPC, interacting with your Amazon Bedrock. And which bot is this? Yeah. And I hope it works. Yeah, it does work. So yeah, so what we did finally is to deploy the entire solution on your local secure way. That covers the last and the final section of my demo. Um, if there are any questions, I can take up. Any other points, Lisa, you want to cover? Uh, Happy to
Yeah,
listen to you.
yeah. I don't see any other questions in the channel unless I'm missing something.
I haven't seen any new ones, but if anybody does have questions that they want answered during the session today, definitely get those in there. We are getting to the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, I want to say that our goal is to create easy to use solutions, and as you see in the latter part, there's a little bit of complexity. But if you want to get started on leveraging large language model into enterprise solutions, we definitely make that complexity reduce that significantly for people who just wanted to try out. Companies that maybe don't have a large development team or don't have necessarily the technical expertise to get started, that doesn't mean you can't get started. You can't leverage these solutions. And I think we try to make things a little bit more effective. And the way we approach it is always, how can we turn conversation into a great experience? It's all about that end user experience and engaging interactions. And you saw how easy it is. Like, we built, so how many bots within the 2 hours that we've been together. It's not hard to get started, and we would love to have more dialogues with audience today. And if they're interested to learn more about solutions or do proof of concepts, just reach out to us. You can find us, JP at SmartBots.ai, or me, Liza, at SmartBots.ai. So yeah, I look forward to interacting, collaborating, and talking to all the audience afterwards.
All right. Anything else from you? From JP, Tiffany? Anybody have stuff to add?
So as I said, there's one word that I would like to give away from this session is process augmented generation, which we strongly believe is going to be a game changer while interacting with large language models, keeping in mind production grade enterprise solutions. So that's one word that I would like to leave.
That's words.
Then,
3 words.
yeah. So that's
I'm
the
Awesome.
wrap up from mine.
all out of knock jokes for today, guys. Sorry.
Anything, Tiffany, you have to add?
No, I'd just say I thought it was a really good demo, and I think it's cool that that you all have made it possible for people to be able to approach this in a pretty straightforward way. I think it's a big topic and a big area that is really hot right now, and sometimes people don't know how to get started with it. And I think that your product has made it very streamlined, and there's a lot of use cases. I think you highlighted there's the internal ones, there's just the external ones, customer facing ones. And I can see a lot of ways that people can be able to use this product. So I hope others that are watching as well are brainstorming as they've been watching this stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like they definitely were with all of the comments that were coming in, all the questions. That was so great to see.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to deep dive into logs, analytics, and how do you continuously improve the solution. And that's a big advantage. Maybe a follow-up if we get invited back again to talk about how we continuously improve the experience. Because as you interact with the bots, we do capture a good amount of information, understanding the intent, the type of conversation we're having. And one big use case, and I'll just give one example, user experience before I let everybody go. I know it's late in the day, possibly for a lot of people, or very early in the morning. It's that if you have a call center supervisor, a lot of times to understand the interactions, you have to sit there and just listen to call logs, right? See how your agents are doing. What we have done in our solution is to be able to capture the information, summarize the experience, so that your supervisor can just go down and scan through the type of conversations your customers are having. And if there are any areas of concerns or areas that we need to improve, or are there processes that are not being captured in the bot experience, we're able to have that information right at the fingertips. So managing a call center becomes a lot easier. To be able to improve the chatbot experience or adding process become easier because you have insights. You're not going blind. It's not a it's not a George Freeman. It's not a set it and forget it type situation, right? You create something as a baseline. You continuously improve, and that's a philosophy that we definitely stand by and we live by. Just because we have created and crafted a good solution, that doesn't mean we stop here. Continuous improvement is it's a big mindset for us, and we'll continue to listen to our end users' feedback and continue to improve. And we expect our user to do the same thing as well. So yeah, we have a lot more better things to deliver in the coming months and years. So, and we're excited to, showcase the next solution we developed. So
Nice.
Love it.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. I thought the demo was fantastic. Loved seeing so much engagement. Again, just to put this out there, please fill out the survey for our viewers. Get us some good feedback. Let us know what we can improve on. Let us know how soon you want to see SmartBots back here. And just as a quick mention, Howdy Partner is on a couple week hiatus from the looks of our calendar for the holiday breaks. So join us back here in 2 weeks from now. Actually, 3. It's January 10th with Zamelgo. Thank you guys at SmartBots for being with us today. And
Thank you
to
for
our
having us.
viewers out and to our viewers out there, we will see you next time.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Yay.
Have a
Thank
great day
you.
wherever
Bye,
you
You
are.
guys
everyone.
too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.